I'm going to show you how you can design this high converting email from scratch, starting with this blank frame. The reason I know it's high converting is because in my last video where I made $700,000 from email in just 30 days, that's the kind of email I use. So for this video, I created a brand new store so I can walk you through this process from scratch. Okay, so now that we're in Figma, what I'll do is I'll select the blank frame and I will delete it just so I can show you how you can come up with one. So over here, by default, you will have the move tool selected. And let me just zoom in so you can see this better. But this is the move tool. This is the frame tool. If you want to select it, you either click on this tool directly or you just press F and it will select it for you. So now you just left click and drag to come up with the frame. And to make an email design, I always do 1200 in width. And then we're going to expand the lengths as needed, right? It's going to stop here because we already know what the final email is going to look like. But usually you'll start with something along these lines and then go from there. So now I need to grab the brand logo. What I will do is I'll scroll to the top of the page. If it's your brand, you will probably have it already. But what I'll do is I'll save the image as, and then I will save this image and I will drag it in Figma. So now I kind of have it, right? So perfect. Now that we have our logo, we need to come up with this image right here that we're gonna use for the first section of our design. In the era of AI, it's super easy to just quickly come up with one instead of doing a brand new photo shoot. Let's assume I already have this and this product image. I'm gonna show you how through AI, I came up with this new picture for our email design. So over here, I went to Hicksfield and you can see this final creation right here. But I'll show you the whole process. So it started from here and I'll zoom in so you can see the prompt and the reference images. But I told the AI, just like Space Good, which is a brand I referenced for this image. So this is one of their ad or product page picture, I can't remember. And I told it, like, just like Space Good, give me a picture, I'm in picture here, of the full bundle sold with my product. I want the matcha tin, the green tin, the wood accessory, which is this, black bowl and filter. And so I had to reference all of these tools in the prompt, right? And so I gave it this picture so it had like the whole context, and also this picture so it had like a really good image of the tin. So I gave it all of this, and this is the output, the full bundle. But this is not really good for email because it literally cropped the bowl and the spoon, and you won't really be able to use an image like that in an email. You really want some space or some white space. I don't even know what the design term is for that, but you want some space around the picture that you generate so you can play around with the background, like crop it as needed. And so this is my next prompt. I love this picture. So again, referencing the picture it just generated. Can you just zoom out a little bit? You don't even need to use some technical words. Literally, like, you can tell it zoom out and it will understand what you mean. And so right here, I got this picture. I then downloaded it and then threw it in Figma, and here you go, right? No retouching needed, perfect image. You'd have to pay, like, I don't even know how much to a photographer, but this is like world-class quality in like 5 minutes of prompting. So now that you have your picture, you're gonna left click on it and drag it in the frame. Then you're gonna center it using this button right there and just drag it up. And then you can resize it, you know, as needed. Now, after that, what I like to use, and you've probably seen me use it if you watched the previous email design tutorial, but take a look at this left panel. You're gonna duplicate this image by hitting Control and D or Command and D if you're on Mac. So you have two instances of the image right here, and you're gonna crop the top of the first image, right? So you just have the top here. And then after that, you're gonna eliminate the constraint so you can stretch the image like this. This is the picture of the logo. I'm gonna drag it toward the front so it shows up on top of the background that we stretched. Now to change the color of the logo, I'm just gonna drag it out of the frame for a second, and I'm gonna hit R to bring out the rectangle tool, or you can just click on it directly, and you're gonna put a rectangle over the logo. Then you're gonna select both. As you can see, I have both selected, and you're gonna use the mask tool, and that way you're gonna have the rectangle in the logo in a mask. And so now you can put the logo in whatever color you want. This is red, this is green. You have full control over that. So I'm just gonna drag the logo back and then make it a little bit smaller. And obviously I'm gonna change like the color of it, but I just wanted to show you how you can change the color because that's gonna matter, right? So now instead of making it green, I will just select the color that I have here because that's more in line with our email. And then I'm gonna create some text. So here we want claim your free welcome kit as the headline. So we'll write it out, claim your free welcome kit. Now I'll make sure this is center align and then do this. And here you can increase like the size of the text. Okay, so you just tweak the settings until you're happy with it, or you hit the K on your keyboard, and then you can scale the text, which I find to be better 99% of the time. From there, you can see the font is not the same, so I will use Anton, which is the font that the website is already using. Okay, it's already starting to look like quite similar, so I'm gonna drag the text up a little bit, modify the line height over here. Let me zoom in so you can see this even better. But over here, like we did before, I'm gonna use the scale tool by pressing K and resizing the text. Now I'm just gonna change the color. So instead of white, I'm gonna pick the color that I used here for claim yours, and then I'm gonna do the exact same for the rest of the text. Free welcome kit, I'm gonna color it like this, right? And this is the eyedropper tool. Whatever thing you click on while you have that selected, it will change the color of your selection. So now that we have the headline, the hero image, I need to insert the text here. So I'm gonna push the hero image down for a second, just so I have more room to put the text right here. And obviously I'm gonna stretch the background that we created earlier. So over here, we need some text. Here I'm gonna pick Instrument Sans, because if you go to the website, you hit Control-Shift-C. I use Instrument Sans as the main font on the website, like the standard copy font. So this is what I'm gonna use here too. And I'm gonna copy this text because it's gonna just be a lot easier to just copy it instead of writing it from scratch. So over here, we do the same thing. We resize the text, we put it here. And now this is for conversion rate optimization, I guess. But over here, I really do wanna highlight the most important things because people don't read nowadays. If you have 3 lines of text, even that is like short, so I wouldn't worry about that too much here. But really, if you want to maximize the conversion rate, which is what matters most to me, like generating cash out of the emails I send, you really should make it easy for people to skim the emails and to really understand the value proposition that you're trying to. So over here, I will make this italic by hitting Command and I, or Control I if you're on Windows. And then you can highlight this text and make it go from regular to medium, semi-bold, bold, whatever looks good, right? And because the offer is they get 3 free accessories, what I really want to highlight is yours free today. So I'm gonna underline it like so, right here, with the color that would catch their attention. So over here, I'm gonna hit this setting tool, then go here, hit underline, and then I'm gonna increase the thickness. The offset, I'm gonna lower it a little bit, and then the color, instead of white, I'm gonna pick something that is really shiny, like yellow. So now that we have the hero section, we need to come up with the rest, starting with the button, the Trustpilot thing, the text. But before I do all of that, I just want to stretch out the frame just so I have more room to actually do what I want to do. So this is it. Now I have a longer frame. What I'll do right away is just edit the color so it matches this one. So instead of white here, I will select this color. Now, some people will ask me like, okay, how'd you come up with this color for email 1 originally, right? So either you go to the website, or I went to the website I created and just picked it. But because I created the website, I can literally tell you how I came up with this color, right? So generally, these are colors and you have different shades of them right here. So you can pick whatever color you want. This is full intensity. I guess that's how you would call it. And I guess how I come up with backgrounds usually is I go from the full intensity right here all the way down to something that's closer to white. So I just have the shade of the full color instead of, because this would be very striking as the background. Like it hurts my eyes as I see this. But something that is yellow like this, but not all the way through. So it kind of looks like this. Like this is very pleasing to the eye, I guess. And so yeah, that's how I come up with these colors. Now we need to come up with the call to action. So over here, the font is Instrument Sans. So I will duplicate this text because it already was in the correct font, and I will copy the call to action. Get my free gifts. So let's write that down. Get my free gifts. right? So now the difference between this call to action and this one so far is this one is in all caps, which I really like to do because making it all caps makes it so it is easier to read on mobile, which is where most of your traffic will come from when you send an email. And so yeah, just making this all caps will help the email generate more. And I always go back to conversions because this is what I do, right? My only goal when I send emails for clients is to generate these kinds of numbers, and that would not be possible if I did not obsess over making it simpler for the end user to actually read the email and to understand the offer right away. So over here, yeah, making it all caps is important. Now what I'll do is I'll hit Shift A to make it an auto layout like this. And so now I'll be able to customize the background behind the text. Either I hit the fill over here, eyedropper tool, and I select the color that I want, or what I tend to do and what you'll see me do throughout the rest of this video is I'll hit I, and then I will just select whatever color I want, and it will directly make it so, yeah, it colors the frame in the color I want. So now I'll increase the corner radius, because if you take a look at this angle, you know, it's a 90-degree angle, and this one is a little bit more rounded. So I will do the same here. I'll make it like a little bit more rounded, 20 in corner radius, and then I'll add a stroke, and let's see the size of this stroke. It's like an outside stroke 3, size 3, and then this color. So I'll literally replicate these settings, outside and 3, right? So looks very close now. And then I just need to add like some inner shadows over here. So let's do this too. Effect, inner shadow, and then let's see over here, and then I will lower the intensity, right? So now it kind of is starting to look like this one. And you can play around with the settings all you want, but I'm happy about this one already. So I'll stop there, and boom, here we go. This looks perfect now. So now I'm just noticing like I would want to increase the size of the product image, just because on mobile, I do want it to look a little bit bigger than that. If you don't have as much experience as me, and this is not me bragging, like I've sent thousands of emails, but nowadays I know for a fact how an email is gonna end up looking like on mobile before I send it. And this is gonna look a little bit small. So I do wanna make it like a little bit bigger. So I want it to take more room. So over here, this is what I'll do, right? This looks a lot better. Oh, yeah, right. Looks great. So over here, I just have a copy block. I'll show you how to do the Trustpilot thing later, but I guess for speed, just because this is the same font as this, I will show you how you can create this block very quickly. So over here, I select this text, click on option, and then drag with left click. So I duplicate this instance of the text, and then I change the color to something like this, or you can also copy the color from here, but it doesn't matter that much. I just want to make it like basically very close to black. All right, so we have it right here. Then the text, I'm gonna copy and paste it because I don't want to like type it out from scratch, but then I'm gonna slide it up, and then I'm gonna highlight a few things. Like I said, people don't read. I'm just gonna make it simpler for them to consume. So what is the most important thing here? Let's read it together actually. Most people think all matchas are created equal. Then they try authentic ceremonial matcha and realize they've been drinking the wrong thing for a year. So a key word here is authentic, and I guess this is like very important too, but for the sake of this, I'm just gonna highlight this, or like authentic, because then if I just highlight this, it hits a lot better. So over here, I'm just gonna do something like this, maybe bold, and this is perfect. I think it's even better than this version. Over here, you'll notice it's a different color, but it doesn't stand out that much. So my version is like a little bit better now. So authentic, and then I'm gonna underline they've been drinking the wrong thing for a year. It has a more dramatic effect. So underline, and then instead of making the underline yellow, now I'm gonna make it green, this green. And I would be able to, like, I can very much copy the same green because I like this one a lot. Okay, messed up the text. So over here, let's do this. All right, perfect, cool. So now we have this block of copy, like literally it's perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it. So I'll show you how you can create this. So over here, I'll duplicate this text, paste the over 7,000 reviews. And then for the Trustpilot star, I did not design them from scratch. What you can do is this, SVG Trustpilot 5 stars, right? And over here, you have the logo of Trustpilot, this 5 stars, and you can basically like copy and paste them from here. So let me go to another website because I didn't see a download button over here. Download logo. Is it a SVG? You do want the SVG format because PNG, it can look blurry. SVG is like a vector, so it stretches out better. So over here, this is amazing. Download SVG. So over here, I have the Trustpilot icon. As you can see, I'll show you my point, but you can stretch it out as much as you want. The image is still just as sharp, and just because it's not an image, it's a vector, but who cares? Over here, I'll just make that smaller and then align it with this. And then here you go. You have a Trustpilot with all of your reviews. And now you look like a legit brand. Obviously, don't lie. Take your actual Trustpilot score. And yeah, I mean, instead of making it a full 5-star, what I might do is this, right? If you have a 4.7 star rating, you might do something like this over here. Perfect, right? So I just put the gray rectangle behind the actual store. So now let's move on to the next section over here. This is just like a frame. So same tool we've used earlier. You create a frame like this. Over here, you need to add a fill color. And I guess same point I made earlier. Here I went with full green and then changed the shade of green that I went for. And so it ends up looking like this, right? So you can do something like this and then go closer to white in terms of color. And now you just add a stroke, round the corners, and now you have something that already looks much closer to this. So now, same thing, you need to add some text. So over here, I'll copy text from here. Here you go. And here, I guess this is important. Like the font that I used is Poppins, just because I could have used Instrument Sans, but then if I go and make it bold, I guess I could have used it, but I guess Poppins is more readable. I like Poppins a lot more than I like this format, especially for the next section that we'll get into later. But yeah, I guess Instrument Sans works here, so I won't. Yeah, actually, let's keep it. So over here, I duplicate this for this line of copy, and then discount automatically applied. Like this is just standard text, so we can use the same skill we talked about earlier to do this section. Over here, boom, and then over here, paste that. Right, that's perfect. Now in terms of, because a big part of getting something to look good is to be consistent with your design. So for example, between this line of text and this line of text, you have, like, let's actually take a look. You have 24 pixels, right? But between this line and this line, you have 20. And so the more you do, the more inconsistent you are with that kind of thing, the worse your design look. So you never want that to happen. And the way I get my design to be like super like premium and stuff is just to create auto layouts. So you select both of these text element and you press Shift A, and not only will center them relative to each other. So before they were slightly like this, you can go back into the video and see, but they were like this. And if I hit Shift A, automatically it'll like align them very well. So that's how I do it. And then you can do the same thing for the other one, Shift A, and then you just have to make sure here you have the same gap for both. So 24 and 24, and then all of a sudden it's gonna look like really good. So here you go. And now you need to do the exact same thing I did with the Trustpilot thing. So over here I would do SVJ, Instagram check mark, and then you would download it from here. Or what's the actual good check mark that I could download? I like this one. You can download it, SVJ. Okay, it costs $15. I'm not gonna pay $15 for that. But yeah, I mean, you can pretty much find the one you like the most on the internet. But okay, so actually I had one on my computer, so I'm just gonna paste it here. Okay, so now that I have the Instagram icon, I need to drag it into the auto layout that we created earlier. So I want it in this one, and then I will make this element and this element an auto layout, but this time, instead of stacking the element on top of each other, I'll stack them, like I'll put them side by side instead. So instead of this over here, I will select horizontal alignment, and then I'll put this one on the left, and then this one, I'll make it like this, right? Looks much better already. This, I'll scale it down. I'll hit K, scale it down, and now this looks really good. Maybe I'll increase the size of it a little bit and then change the color of this. You can see it was originally the Instagram icon, but now obviously we'll change that color. So now it looks perfect. I'll make the text the same color as this, and this I can even duplicate it for the other component too, right? So over here, I'll delete this and I'll replace the text over there. So now I'll stack both of these elements together, center them on the frame, or I guess do something like this, right? And now you have this element, which is the exact same as this other one. So this, I might, make it bigger, because once again, you're gonna send this email to people who will, end up reading it on mobile. And so you wanna make it easy for them to consume the email. So just make everything bigger if you can. And a quick tip, if your font is below 45 over here, and it will be difficult for people to read. Now, of course, that depends on the exact font that you use, but if you use a standard one like Instrument Sans, Arial, Inter, all these kind of font that are Google fonts, I guess, 45 to 50 is a good range to shoot for if you want the email to be readable, which is a big part of getting it to convert super well. So yeah, use that as a framework, I guess. And then let's move on to the next portion of the design. So over here, anytime that I create some text, I rarely hit the text tool by clicking on T and then actually starting from scratch. What I always do is I select something that I've already done, duplicate it, maybe scale it up in this instance, right? And I start from there. So I would do your free gifts. Kind of misspelled it here, but this is how it should be, right? So your free gifts. And then this is where I don't like the Instrument Sans font. I would like this font to be a little bit easier to read, just like this one is. And that's why I originally switched to Poppins. So Poppins is a good font. Maybe too many dropshippers are using it, but it is a good font in and of itself. So over here, I do something like this. Narrow the letter spacing, edit it so it is dark gray like this. And then maybe add some space around the word free, just so I can later highlight this word, right? And use this color. Now it looks great, right? This is perfect. Maybe I'll center that because I wasn't sure it was centered. Just like this element, right? You can center both. Anytime that you do something, try and make sure it's in the center. So over here, I'll group both by hitting Control G, because if I just select these two elements and then I center them like this, they're gonna mesh together. But I want to create a group, so I'll hit Command G and then center them with the center alignment tool. So that is it. That was a quick caveat. And I won't do the footer just because, okay, let me not be lazy. I will do the footer. So now let's start to do the free gift. And once we create the first one, the next two are going to be super easy to create. You can very much templatize these elements. So over here, we're going to start with the same foundation we used for this one. So we're going to start with a frame, maybe slightly rounder corners like this. And then we're going to do element by element. So over here you have like a banner for each element, then you have this headline and pricing block, and then you have the background element. So you have really like three main key components. So for the banner, I will drag some text. I already told you how I never start anything from scratch. So usually sold for, and then I will have another piece of text for $24, just so I can handle the spacing a bit better there. And then over here, what I'll do is this. Now that I have these two elements, what I'll do is I'll create another frame that will be nested within the green one. So let me change the color so you can visualize that a bit better. But you can see this is a red frame, and it is under, or it is nested inside of the other component. So now I'll change the color just so it reflects the other one a little bit better. And then I'll make it like this. I guess this is a good size. And then I'll drag these elements inside of the frame. Now this is perfect. So the text is supposed to be white here. So I'll go for white, and maybe not full white. I'll do like 90% opacity or 95. Just tiny design detail, but I think it looks better. So over here, now I need to highlight this $24 text. So I will do Shift A just to create an auto layout around it. And then I will make it full yellow, and you'll see like in a second, or no, not the text itself, but I will do full yellow for what's around the text, so for the auto layout. And then I will lower the opacity. Then it looks like a very solid highlight. So now I'll select both of these elements, hit Shift A to make them aligned, because like we said earlier, you don't want to be in a situation where they're like a little bit off balance like this. Like I see that a lot with amateur email designers. Like they just forget to align stuff. I guess they just throw things on a frame and it just looks awful. So what I like to do is like wrap them in an auto layout just so everything looks like better. And then over here, you center that within the frame. So you can hit Option H to have everything centered, and now everything's perfect. And to go even further, instead of the green element being a frame, you can also make that an auto layout by, you know, selecting that and then going over here. So you hit this button and now it's an auto layout. So it just makes it so if that wasn't centered already, well, when you do that over here with this green element, then it just centers the whole thing. So now you just center it like this, and then why isn't it working? Yep, it's because of this, right? So now everything's centered properly. So now let's take a look at what we can do for the rest. Over here we need some text. So like I said, I'm not gonna start from scratch. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna scale it down a little bit like this, and then I'm gonna duplicate the text. I'm gonna say right like free today, and then I'm gonna slide it to the left. I'm gonna make it $24. And like I said before, aligning things is just super important. So I'll make sure everything is aligned all the time. So over here, I'll scale this a bit down just for visual hierarchy. I want people to read the product name and then the price. That's just what makes sense. And so I'll edit the color. I'll make this red over here. I might change this specific color later. You can see this is lighter, or this isn't as strong of a red. I'll tweak that as we go, of course. So right now I'm just gonna make it like this, and then we're gonna move from there later. Now I'm just gonna increase the spacing between these elements, and I'm gonna leave some more room for us to put the product image. So now it's already starting to look extremely similar to what's on the left here. I guess what we can do is, yeah, just come up with this picture. So obviously I already have created it, and I can't recreate it again because it is like straight up an AI image. Anytime that you ask an AI model, it will never come up with the exact same picture. But you know, I can show you how I created it. So let me do that. All right, so this is the actual picture. If you're curious, I used the Nano Banana 2 model to create it, and this is the prompt I use. So I fed it the picture of the bundle, and then I asked the AI, instead of the whole bundle, give me the image of just this product, ceramic chawan. And you know, the AI knows what a chawan is. I did not before, but essentially spotted the black bowl and then gave it to me like this, right? It should be standing by itself, and the picture should be taken relatively up close. The reason I say relatively up close is so it doesn't crop the bowl. I want to do that myself. I don't want the AI to give me a cropped image. So then I downloaded the picture. You can download it from here, and then I dragged it in Figma, and then I increased the exposure and then saturation a little bit, because these colors, like it, I don't know if you see the same colors I do, but on my screen it's super dark and it's not lively at all. So I increased the exposure and the saturation. You could go in Photoshop to do that and it would be better, but for the sake of speed, and specifically because it will look kind of small in an email, people will not be able to tell if you color graded your picture super well. Like it literally won't matter at all for revenue, and I only do things if it increases revenue, so I don't care that much about color grading pictures perfectly. So over here I will put this image within the frame that we created. So let me just do this over here, and then I will drag this picture inside of the frame. Perfect. And so now I will, because you can see the frame, it's called frame 1000 and it ends with 88. And so this is the end of the frame if I shrink all of the elements down. So I will put this picture at the very background of the frame, and then I'll make it like this. Maybe I'll extend the frame, and now you just have to, I guess, find something that looks decent, right? So over here you can take inspiration from how I did it on the left, but realistically, like, you can do it however you want. And so I will use the same trick I used earlier for the hero section to extend the background. I'll use the same thing here. So I will duplicate the picture, remove this constraint, crop it, And so right now you just have this element right here. I hit Control Z to put it back where it was. And then from there, I just stretch it. And right now this looks super stretched. So a way you could hide that is just by putting a black rectangle over the part of the image that's stretched. One is gonna hide the imperfection of the image, and two is gonna make the text stand out even more. So as you can see, the text is more readable here, and you cannot see that the image has been stretched. So this is the goal that I'm trying to accomplish. So I'll make the rectangle completely dark, and then I'll adjust the shade. So this part I want it to be fully black, and then as you get closer to the bowl where the image is not stretched, I want it to have zero opacity. So right now it looks absolutely fantastic, amazing. So I'll just increase the size of the text and make it this color. Right now it looks very good, very good. Maybe I'll do it like this. I'll just resize the elements because I do think we can make things look even better. And this is gonna make it so I can make the text a lot bigger, which is great, right? This is perfect, cool. And now I just need to duplicate this element 3 times and just edit the picture, the text, the price, and yeah, this is gonna be pretty straightforward. So the picture over here, let's start with the bottom one. Let's do it another way. So for the prompt, I mean, I can show you what prompt I used, but for this one, I was like, instead of the whole bundle, literally the exact same prompt, I just replaced the tool. It's called Bamboo Chasing, later learned. And so I named it like this, got this picture, downloaded it, and dragged it in Figma as follows, right? So over here, now you do it like this, put the image in there. And so now I used an interesting trick, right? So let me just resize the image so I can show it to you. But if I zoom in on this email, you'll see that this element, or this Bamboo Chasing, I believe that's what it's called, it's like standing on its own. It's like it has no background, and I can stack it on top of the green banner. To me, this looks like a little bit more premium than just not doing it like that, because I could very much be lazy and just make the Bamboo Chasing stand like this. But having, you know, elements overstep each other, you know, it helps make your design look a little bit more premium. So I will do just the same here. I will do it like this, maybe like this, right? Bamboo Chasing, and then it's $9. So I'm gonna do $9 here, and then same background trick we used earlier, I'm gonna use it here too. So duplicate the background, crop it a bit, and then stretch it all the way out. I'm gonna show you how you can make how you can do the trick I talked about earlier. But over here, I increased the exposure too, and the saturation too, so it looks better. And then let me just crop out the image once more, because that way I have the same exposure and saturation setting for the duplicated picture. All right, perfect. And now it's just time to do the same for this one too. Like this image, I removed the background because originally it looked like this, and I made it overstep the green banner. So yeah, I'll show you how you can do that in a second. Right now, I'll show you the prompt I use for the other. So over here, let me click on this picture. Instead of blah, 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 same prompt, I just used Golden Sifter here. So downloaded the picture once again, dragged it in Figma. Now remember that I need to do the exposure setting because it's gonna make the image a little bit more lively. Boom, like this is perfect. And this looks awesome. So, okay, this is perfect. Let me drag it in here. I'll put it right there. And then, yep, gonna do it like this. And then I'm gonna do the same trick we did earlier. So duplicate the image. Okay, so what I did here is I hit the duplicate and it duplicated the fill of the image over here. This is what it did. Take a look at this bit here. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is duplicate this image element, not the fill of the image. So I reselected the image and then I hit Control D or like Command D. For some reason it's not working. Let me do it again. Okay, it's working now. Sometimes it bugs out. So yeah, crop the image, remove the constraint, stretch the image, and now we have like a perfect thing. So now let me show you how you can do the trick I talked about earlier, right? So here you're gonna download this picture over here, and maybe let's make it like a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm gonna download it in a high quality, And then I'm gonna open Photoshop. I'm gonna just open this image that I just downloaded. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the background. So I just have the tool, the bamboo chasen, I believe that's what it's called, instead of the rest. And that way I will be able to make the bamboo chasen go over the green banner. So the way I do it is I use this tool, which is gonna allow me to select the bamboo thing. And you don't need to be super careful. We just want to remove the background of this top section here, because you can see it's like mostly bamboo, but within it you have these the green background that you can perceive through the tool. And so I want to eliminate as much of this green background as possible, so I only have the bamboo thing. So here I'll go and hit the magic wand tool and then remove as much of the background as possible while keeping the bamboo. Let's just do it step by step, one bit at a time. I hate using Photoshop, but I mean, it's quite useful if you want to make your email look premium. Figma is good for 99% of the job. I mean, you can probably see from what we've been doing so far, but Figma is just insanely good, but sometimes you'll need Photoshop for this kind of thing. Now, I know that Figma is coming up with like a bunch of tools, especially to remove the background through AI, or like they're coming up with like a bunch of new features to do effectively what I'm doing right now in Photoshop. But Photoshop is like my go-to still. Never tried the Figma AI tools. I've just been using Photoshop because to me it's 1,000 times faster than getting used to a new tool, right? Okay, so as you can see, I have 100% of the bamboo tool selected and the rest is not. So what I'll do is I'll actually flip this selection. So I'll hit Command Shift I. Now everything is selected with the exception of the bamboo tool. So what is going to allow me to do is hit E now, and I'm going to be able to erase everything that is not the bamboo tool. There are a few imperfections which I can spend my time fixing, but for the sake of this video I won't. What I'll do is I'll export this as is, and you'll see how I use that in Figma to improve the email design. So we're in Figma. I'm gonna drag the picture I just edited in Photoshop, and as you can see, you know, it's like the bamboo tool without any background versus the bamboo tool with the background. And so I need to kind of replicate the same effect within the container over here. And so what I'll do is actually I'll do something that is much smarter. So I'll duplicate this image right there. And so right now we have the bamboo tool too with the background, and I'll make it appear at the front of the frame. And this is, you know, I guess in Figma you have like the actual image, like this is the image block, but you can also stack different fills. So I can put a color in the image frame. Right now it's just the image with a red color in front of it, and you can change the opacity. So you can stack different fill on top of the original image. So what I'll do is I'll use the fact that this image already has all of the correct saturation, or like the correct you know, it has the correct width, the correct height. It just doesn't have the correct fill. So what I'll do is this, right? Let me go back. I'll get the fill from this image and I'll put it within the container that I want. So right now I have like this. I'll delete the red color, I'll delete the original image, and right now I have the original container of this image. Like I have like the proper width, the proper height, the proper location on the frame, but now I have the image just without the background. And so right now it just looks insanely good. So over here you can definitely change how it looks. So you can do something like this, you can change the settings all you want. Even this looks very cool if you were to, you know, change the text around here. Well, for the sake of this video, I'm just trying to do something like this, right? Looks perfect. So this is good. Now let's move on to the next section, which is super easy because we already have the Trustpilot thing created. And now we just need to, so what I did is like I selected these two, I hit Shift A, so you can see it like this, right? So before it was just a group. I can ungroup things just to make it easier, but over here you select these two and you hit Shift A to make it auto layout, sorry, and then you change the size of the auto layout. You can even change the height. you can center the elements within it, and then you can change the background color of the actual auto layout. So it just looks like this, right? And here you might want to make this a little bit bolder. Something like this is perfect. Again, just make sure the size of the text here is above 45, at the very least 40. Otherwise, like if your size is like, if the size of your text is 38, 37, even like 41, 42, like it's a little bit small. So yeah, try and make your text easy to read on mobile, and then yeah, your email will like magically convert better, just because people are able to like read the offer, understand it right away, and then convert easily because they can see your call to action instead of it being buried somewhere. So that is it. Now, just before the end of this email, I want to have a second call to action, because if you think about how people read an email, like they'll get it, they will read this, maybe they'll click on this button, but if they don't click on this button, then they're going to scroll. This button is going to be invisible now. They're going to reach the end of this email, and if they want to convert, me personally, I don't read footers. As soon as I reach a footer, I just stop consuming the information. So I would never convert through a footer. But say I get to the end of the email and I don't see a call to action, I wouldn't necessarily scroll to hit this link again. And I'm seeing it across all the split tests I've been doing. I don't split test variables like this nowadays, but originally when I first got started, I was like, okay, is it necessary to have a second call to action toward the end? And yes, it is, because you'll have everybody who reaches the end of the email and who is interested, well, they're going to click on this call to action, and if there wasn't one, they wouldn't scroll back and hit this call to action. So you miss out on a ton of conversion just because people actually forgot to click on the offer that you made them interested in here. So over here, what I'll do is I'll click on this button and just drag the call to action down. So this is perfect. Now this Trustpilot thing, I'm going to push it closer to the top. And now for the footer, I mean, this is going to be very, very straightforward. But I'm going to duplicate 3 buttons. Maybe I'm going to change the size of them. Now I'm going to select all of the text, reduce the size. Maybe I'll make them, I don't know, pop-ins, light, something like this. And then I'm going to change the color of the frame. Or actually, I won't. I'm going to remove the color entirely. And then I'm going to do something like this. So I created the frame, put all of the buttons that we created within the frame, and the frame, I'm just gonna make it dark green like this. So over here we have like something that already looks like a pretty nice footer. I'm gonna remove, because it looked like it had some inner shadows. Okay, so it looks bad right now because the inner shadows reaches the text, which I don't want that to happen. So I'll have to fix it real quick. The way I can fix it is just actually putting a fill color or adding a fill color to these buttons, and as you can see, the shadow completely disappeared on the text, right? So this is good. I like it. Pretty good footer. This unsubscribe or manage preference, Clippy will put it automatically, so I really don't care about that. I mean, you probably noticed this trend, but anything that doesn't impact conversions, I just don't care. My only goal for clients is, again, pulling numbers like these from emails. 100K in revenue, 200K in revenue, 700K in revenue like you saw in the last videos, and really much more if you go to retainwithemails.com. I'll put the link in the description box below, but you can see clients and the email revenue that we're able to generate for them.